Hey, Amanda. I don't know, are we recording now? Oh, we are
Yep.
recording. Okay, cool. Well, this is I think the third in the series that I've been watching you work on with the students, engaging them with the unit on the Native American people living in your area in the Santa Monica Mountains. And you went from food to drink, shelter, basic survival skills. And in this unit, you're talking about how to create paint from natural resources from the environment.
Mhm.
And so I'm always learning a lot with you as I look at these videos. It's really, really fun to see you engaging with the kids. So your objective for this particular lesson was to engage all students. And one of the things you've been working on is behavior management, just to reinforce the idea of polite, respectful engagement, waiting their turn, raising their hand, using signal words like coyote quiet. And I love that because whenever I used to substitute for elementary grades, I got to use that coyote quiet signal. So that was really fun. And also, you've been working with your staff to have them just kind of pick up on when students need redirecting. And I noticed from watching the video that the staff really doesn't need to be told what to do. They know when a student or a group of students need to be redirected. So I know that you're training them as well, and with minimal disruption, they're able to squelch any kind of issue, which doesn't happen very often, and redirect those kids. So that was really, really well done, especially in this lesson. And in this lesson, you did a great job redirecting students, reminding them to raise their hand a few times, but I noticed that this time, this is the third time that I've observed you doing a lesson like this, that they really didn't need that much redirection. And once you did redirect them, the majority of the students, and even the students that you had to redirect, were really paying attention, and they didn't need a second reminder. So that's really showing success. So fantastic.
Thanks.
Yeah. So I just made note that the classroom environment is out in the park, in the natural environment where the Native Americans lived. And again, you have them sitting in a circle on a blanket, and you're part of the circle, not the center of the circle. And that's also really cool, I think, because it just shows a level of equalness and respect for the students. And in the center of the circle was the products or the materials that you wanted the students to focus on. And for this lesson, it was Ziploc bags of ground powder made from natural elements from the environment. And the first thing you asked them to do was to raise their hand if they had an idea of where some of the colors may have come from in nature. One of the girls, Zoe, said, "From nature." It's like, yeah. And then you wanted to be more specific. Okay, so what part of nature did it come from? And you were holding up a bag of yellow, and Tallulah said, "From sunflowers." And you said, "Yeah, they're yellow. Maybe it's from sunflowers." And I noticed that every time a student had something to say, unless it was really off base, you did a really good job of making them feel good about their answer. And so that, and you repeated their answer and sort of sometimes made it more understandable for the rest of the kids if they didn't hear it. Isabel was speaking out, and you reminded her to raise her hand, and she raised her hand and she said, "Yellow flower petals." And I was noticing that through this lesson, some of the students kept saying almost the same thing or similar answers, and you were trying to direct their attention to maybe something different, or what could it be besides flowers or leaves? Maybe it's something else. So that was good. And then Connor said a water bottle. And said, "Okay, everyone, does water bottle come from nature?" And it was a whole group response, no hand raised needed, and everybody said no. So that was good. And then you just moved on. So Stevie, what do you think? He said pollen. And that was good. So, and then I was thinking, okay, a lot of time was being spent on this one color. So I thought, how's she getting through all those colors?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but you did. So you said, oh, and then you had to redirect Connor, and you said, Connor, do you want to come and sit next to me? It seems like you're having a difficult time remembering to raise your hand. And I just love the way you worded that.
Thanks.
So yeah, very respectful and logical. So there's no arguing about that. Really. It's not debatable, really. And he didn't end up moving. He just like, okay, got it. And Gregory said poppies or dandelions, and Oscar said yellow leaves in the fall, and then you repeated those answers. And then I noticed that Penguin had her back turned to the group. And you may not have noticed because she was sitting right next to you and you were looking in another direction, but she was like all interested in her backpack and what was in there. And so I thought, oh my gosh, how long is it going to be before somebody notices? But a staff came over and you didn't have to say anything. It was taken care of. And then she never had to be redirected again. So that was really good. And then she was really listening, although she's not really that involved in that. She's not one of those students that raises her hands, but later you came to those two girls that were sitting next to each other and you said, hey, I know you guys haven't raised your hand, but would you like to add something to the group conversation? And I thought that was a really good way, again, of engaging all students.
Thank you.
So good job on that. And let's see. One of the students, Steven, said a rock. Oh, no, he said, where could another place that a color could have come from? And Steven said a rock, and then you got into the discussion of the process of what materials were in the environment and how that could have become paint. And that was a really interesting conversation. It was good. And then some students started talking out of turn, and you said it's hard to hear when other people are talking, and then you did need to, but it happened so fast that the staff didn't have a chance to do it themselves, but you directed the staff to help some students. Would you help these students? And so they did. They helped them sit correctly and raise their hands at an appropriate time. And let's see. And then Juniper said something green. And you said, yes, there's so much green around us. And I was thinking, you're probably thinking, oh, I wish they'd come up with maybe something else besides plants. But I wasn't sure. What really were you trying to get them to come up with something that's like another part of the earth that could have created the paint color?
Honestly, I was, the majority of the responses I expected to be plant-based, but I was also hoping that I would see them kind of think more, maybe something from like soil or clay or rocks too, from from the earth. So it was nice to hear, plants as their responses, because it just showcases that that was what we were surrounded by, and right, came to the forefront of their mind as we kind of hiked through. But then it was cool too to see later on, throughout the day, they explored a creek that they didn't see in the beginning of the day, and in the creek they found different colored stones, and then the discussion came up again, but it's not in a video.
Okay, well, that's really good. That's really great. And I think that kids this age are generally going to think of what they come up with responses with things that they can actually see, and maybe not go to that deeper level, like beneath the earth.
Yeah, exactly.
So, let's see. I like this part when Connor said, yeah, they could have smashed the rocks with a mortar and pestle, and you said, and you tied it into another lesson, and you said, yeah, smash it like we smashed the acorns. Mm-hmm. And so they're, drawing connections with those lessons. That was really good.
Thanks.
Let's see. And then the staff came out again and said, keep your eyes on Amanda. And they did. And so that was really cool. So getting down to the end of this lesson, Gregory got up and walked away. He got up and he went over to us staff, and I thought, oh my gosh, what's going on? And it ended up that he needed a tissue. But the staff said, sit down and I'll bring it to you. So they're, again, really following your lead of keeping them engaged and not being out of the circle. And he brought them the tissues. I thought was good. But one of the things that I was noticing is that when you went from this, I think you wanted to wrap up this part of the lesson and get to the next part of the lesson, which was when you were going to show them how to mix the powder with the walnut oil. And I didn't see closure to that lesson about guess what's in the stuff, in the powder, and then going to the next activity. Did I miss something, or do you feel like it was rushed, or what do you want to say about that?
Do you mean to, are you trying to say like I never gave them a true answer as to what the color?
Well, okay, that too, yes, that was
Okay.
part of it. So was that intentional?
Yes. I kind of wanted to leave the magic open so that they
Okay.
would continue to wonder and draw conclusions on their own as to what the colors were maybe made from. Because the next step after actually turning the powder into paint was for them to go find their own colors in nature and then crush them with a mortar and pestle and then make their own colors. And I just felt that if I told them what the colors were made from, then they would focus on only those plants or rocks making those colors.
Oh.
So I didn't want to tell them, I didn't want to put the idea in their mind, that only this, can make the color green and only this makes the color yellow. So I wanted to leave it open-ended and kind of hoping that correlated more with project-based learning than rather than like, more of a command style of teaching.
Yeah.
But then I did go into how to mix the powder into a paint. Yes.
Okay.
But maybe there's probably a way to conclude that without, maybe I should have said, as you explore throughout the day, I would love to see what you think makes the color green, yellow, purple.
Yeah, I think that would, so then you would have had a closure to that activity and they would be thinking about it, and then maybe a little stretch. And then now I'm gonna show you how to mix the paint or mix the powder with the walnut oil to make the paint. Because it just seemed like one thing than the other. And I know that I was thinking that maybe the questions and answers were going on so long that you felt like you were pressed for time.
A little bit.
That happens to everyone. So
I felt like they were sitting for an incredibly long period of time.
They were. So, and that's why I say, research shows that boys especially need to get up and walk around. And I could hear him in the next video running around and screaming. So that was really good. That was then at the end of that part where you were showing the students how to mix the paint, make a volcano and put the walnut oil and everything, Connor asked, because you were asking him, hold your thought till the end, and I thought that was really good redirecting, another way to redirect and engage all students. And he said, is the color made from dye from the earth? Because I could really tell he was really thinking deeply about it. And he's, you said nobody dyes the dirt. It could have been made from sand or rocks. But I'm wondering if maybe he just didn't get the vocabulary.
Okay.
Because and I'm thinking maybe you could have said natural. It's a natural dye or a natural color.
Right.
Yeah, because I thought, I think he's really right, but he just doesn't have the right vocabulary.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, we are going to conclude this observation video.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you.